is the section for our chapters workshop where we were talking about encryption. Before we get started, I do want to make a couple of admin announcements. As you can see, we have simultaneous interpretation in the room. Sol, our great interpreter, has just shared with you the instructions so that you can choose the proper channel and make sure that you don't select the incorrect channel or listen to both languages at the same time. Now, if you would like to know what we did yesterday, you can check the recordings of our previous sessions in our Facebook website and in our live stream channel as well. The links for both websites will be there in the chat throughout the session. If you want to hear a summary, a soundbite of yesterday's sessions, you can find that available in the podcast in our SoundCloud that was set up by the amazing .pest team. And you have really important information there about yesterday's sessions. So if you want to, you can check that out. And finally, we do want to remind you that we are recording this and we're going live on Facebook and on live stream. So without further ado, let's get started. So very briefly, I think we could get started by sharing with you what we will do in the session. Today, we will have the first part where we will talk about encryption. We will present our project and we will talk about the importance of encryption in internet society. We will be talking about how encryption is important for individual users, for private users, how encryption is important for having a digital life, for having digital public services, for digital economy in general, and for the activities in the private sector too. And then we will also be talking about the importance of encryption for such a broad, complex system as is the internet, because in a system where we have over 70,000 networks, millions upon millions of equipments are interconnected, and these technologies are important to guarantee the confidentiality of data, the authenticity of all parties who are interchanging information, and the integrity of data flow in the network as well. In this first session, we will have Anna Higgins with us. She is our project coordinator for Internet Strong and Internet Society. And we will also watch a video from Oscar Navarrete from ISOC Nicaragua. And we will get started with that video, which I think is a great summary of our interest in inscription. And then we will talk to community members. In this first part, we will talk to Bryan Fernández and Rodolfo Sumoza, both from Internet Society chapters, one from Dominican Republic and one from Argentina, because they actually got scholarships in order to participate in our encryption training. So we want to specifically share with you about the detail of their the work that they wrote and created for those courses, and how things are doing in their countries as well. And then lastly, we will talk to our friends from the Brazil chapter and from the IRIS Institute. They work with internet and society. They carry out investigation, research, and conduct their own projects, because they are going to be developing a project in 2021, and it's important for you to know about the details of this project. So what we want is for Bryan, Rodolfo, Flavio, and Luiza, and Anna to incentivize our community to do the same work that you guys are doing, because the work that you're doing is tremendous and really important for us. Before now we have Anna Higgins get started, what we want to do is follow this video that was set up by Oscar. He actually did this as the last work that he had to do for his encryption training. So can I get started? Yes?
Hola, te saluda Oscar González, miembro de Internet Society, capítulo Nicaragua. En esta ocasión compartiré contigo sobre el cifrado de datos, el cual evita que delincuentes y espías roben información. Aunque no nos demos cuenta, confiamos en el cifrado todos los días. Este nos protege mientras navegamos por internet, compramos en línea, utilizamos la banca móvil o usamos aplicaciones de mensajería segura. Pero te estarás preguntando, ¿qué es el cifrado y por qué es importante? Esto lo veremos a continuación. El cifrado es el proceso de codificación o encriptación de datos para que solo pueda leerlo alguien con los medios para devolverlo a su estado original. En pocas palabras, este procedimiento utiliza los algoritmos correspondientes a la criptografía con el fin de que el mensaje realizado por un emisor llegue de forma segura a su receptor. Los datos tienen tres estados: datos en reposo, cuando se encuentran almacenados en tu disco duro o una unidad USB. Datos en uso, a nivel lógico, es decir, por ejemplo, los datos que encontramos en las tablas de una base de datos. Datos en tránsito, cuando nuestros datos viajan en forma de paquetes por la red. ¿Qué es el cifrado de extremo a extremo? El cifrado de extremo a extremo es cualquier forma de encriptación en la que solo el remitente y el destinatario pueden leer el mensaje. Ningún tercero, incluso la parte que proporciona el servicio de comunicación, tiene conocimiento de la clave de cifrado. El cifrado de extremo a extremo es la forma de cifrado más segura que puede usar. De ser posible, siempre use cifrado de extremo a extremo para protegerse a usted mismo y proteger sus datos. Entre los ejemplos de servicios de comunicaciones de encriptación de extremo a extremo se incluyen Telegram, WhatsApp y Signal. El cifrado está bajo amenaza en todo el mundo. Algunos gobiernos están tratando de hacer que las empresas creen formas de acceder al contenido cifrado, es decir, la creación de puertas traseras que aprovechan la vulnerabilidad existente. A esto se le conoce como hackeo del gobierno o piratería del gobierno. Esto genera los siguientes tipos de amenazas. Legislativa. Leyes que crean mandatos de acceso de puerta trasera para la aplicación de la ley. Legal. Intentar aplicar las leyes existentes para crear mandatos de acceso a puertas traseras para aplicación de la ley, generalmente dirigido a presuntos delincuentes o terroristas. Tangencial. Una amenaza que no se centra en el cifrado, sino que pone el cifrado en riesgo de todos modos. Por ejemplo, poner como excusa la desinformación digital y el contenido extremista. Debemos estar claros que no existe el acceso de puerta trasera que se pueda reservar solo para usos autorizados y que no debilite la seguridad de todos. Los delincuentes podrían descubrir y usar la misma manera de entrar. Estas alternativas están disponibles y estarían fuera de la jurisdicción y control de cualquier gobierno. Por lo tanto, cifrado responsable, acceso excepcional o acceso legítimo, todos son puertas traseras de cifrado que ponen en riesgo la seguridad de los ciudadanos en todo el mundo. ¿Qué son los protocolos fantasmas? ¿Cómo afecta la seguridad y la confidencialidad? El término protocolo fantasma se refiere a una propuesta en la que los proveedores de aplicaciones de mensajería de extremo a extremo tienen una forma de agregar un tercero a un intercambio de comunicaciones cifradas sin que las otras partes lo sepan. Los expertos de seguridad recomiendan abandonar la propuesta por los siguientes motivos: problemas de integridad y autenticación, posibilidad de introducir vulnerabilidades, posible abuso y mal uso, viola la confianza del cliente y viola también la transparencia. El cifrado de datos promueve la libertad de expresión, el comercio, la privacidad y la confianza de los usuarios en general. Ayuda a proteger también los datos y las comunicaciones de acciones malas de malos actores. El cifrado debería ser la norma para el tráfico de Internet y el almacenamiento de datos en general. Seguridad por oscuridad. El principio de la ingeniería de la seguridad no recomienda la estrategia conocida como seguridad por oscuridad, en la que se intenta mantener el algoritmo de cifrado en secreto. ¿Cómo la Internet Society y otros ayudan? El cifrado eficaz es de importancia clave para asegurar las comunicaciones en línea para todo, desde transacciones financieras hasta atención médica. Es un componente fundamental sobre el cual se construye una Internet confiable. Para fines de 2020, habremos desarrollado un discurso convincente que promoverá el cifrado de extremo a extremo contra amenazas como el acceso excepcional. Habremos creado una red global diversa y comprometida de coaliciones con participantes alineados con nuestros objetivos y esfuerzos en esta área. Para 2025, nuestro objetivo es que las propuestas de acceso excepcional ya no se consideren una acción viable para los gobiernos. Por el contrario, los principales gobiernos favorecerán el uso del cifrado de extremo a extremo para proteger las redes, las comunicaciones y los datos. ¿Conocías sobre la importancia del cifrado? ¿Sabías para qué se utilizaba y cómo nos protege? Te invito a unirte a Internet Society y compartir con el resto de la comunidad tu opinión, experiencias o dudas abajo en los comentarios. También recuerda que puedes seguirnos en Facebook como ISOC Nicaragua. Estuvo con ustedes Óscar González. Nos vemos hasta la próxima.
Muy bien, este video de Oscar está genial y luego charlamos un poco.
Okay, that video from Oscar was a great summary. We will talk about it later on. I just want to make sure whether everyone can hear everything. So, do you have a message for our participants?
Gracias, Sol.
Thank you, Sol, for explaining the interpretation system. I hope no one is having audio issues after her help. Now, I do want to immediately move on to Anna Higgins, our partner in Internet Society, who will try to talk about the strengthening of encryption. That's a project that we have, and the opportunities that you have to get involved in these activities. Anna, you have the floor. Hi, thank you, Diego. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for participating, and thank you, Oscar, for your video. Anna, just a moment. You need to choose the proper channel. You need to move into Spanish because no one hears you. Yes, now everyone hears you. Okay, let me start over. Hi, everyone, and welcome. And thank you for participating today. And thank you, Oscar, for that really informative video. My name is Anna Higgins, and I am the project coordinator in Internet Society, where I work with encryption and also with community networks. And I am really happy to be here with you today. So let's get started. Now, Internet Society works in order to have an internet that is open, globally connected, trustworthy, and secure for everyone. And as we were able to see on that first day of the workshop, the work that we do follows certain phases. First, we want to broaden the scope of the internet. Then we want to promote the internet model. And then we want to defend that model whenever it is necessary to do so. And our action plan for 2020 and 2021 is separated into two big parts. One is focused on building the internet, and the other is focused on strengthening the internet. And under that challenge of strengthening the internet, we have a specific project to broaden and defend the use of encryption as an essential part of the internet ecosystem at a global level, because encryption is a critical tool for the security of people and for the security of digital information, and also for the security of the internet infrastructure as well. And as we saw in that video in the introduction, encryption is a process through which we are able to encrypt data so they can only be read by someone who has the means or the keys necessary to take them back to their original state. So this is a mathematical technique that is commonly used to protect data stored in information systems and all data that is shared through technological networks such as the internet, for example. In the conceptual model that we call the end-to-end encryption model is any specific way of encryption where only the person who is receiving the message or the person who is sending it can read the message. And that means that no unauthorized third parties, not even those who are providing communication services, know the keys necessary to decrypt those codes. And encryption is a key component of internet trustworthiness and of digital security in the broadest of ways, because beyond protecting user data from being exposed to unauthorized third parties, encryption technologies also help protect the integrity, authenticity, and confidentiality of data flow in the internet, and also of data stored in different servers and or apps apps. And there are several elements of our digital society that depend on encryption in order to work in a secure, resilient way. And that, of course, has a lot to do with our private lives. So, whenever we are doing any web browsing or when we're using apps such as WhatsApp, Signal, or Telegram, they're using encryption to keep our communications safe and secure. But the problem is that encryption becomes more fundamental with time in order for public and private organizations work when we're talking about e-banking, electronic commerce, government services, and strategic communications between authorities in our countries and with authorities outside of our countries, encryption becomes vital. Okay, just a second. I think I need to move to the next slide. Yes, thank you. Wait. Oh no. Okay, yes? No. I think it's the next slide. Brilliant. Okay, so in our global campaign to promote and protect encryption by Internet Society, we wanted to work with our allies in order to first guarantee that public policies and regulation are able to commit to using end-to-end encryption. Then we want to stop measures that either directly or indirectly undermine the use of encryption and of encryption technology in our countries. And third, we want to promote and foster the use among ISPs to add end-to-end encryption as a default option, or at least as an option that users can easily choose. And then what I wanted to say and leave up for discussion is that the efforts that some governments are partaking in to undermine encryption are making all of us systematically more vulnerable, causing vital, important consequences for digital security in many areas of our lives. And this map that you see here shows the key countries for the work that we're doing. So in multiple continents, what we've been able to see is that public policies threaten and undermine the use of encryption, either the use of encryption by individual users or by companies that are offering encryption technology to their clients. And over here in the next slides, you can see different examples of some of the resources available, some of the actions and events that we've been carrying out throughout the years to empower our community and empower our allies to work to defend encryption. And there are several conceptual fact sheets, practical fact sheets, and papers that help here. And they focus on how to guarantee the security of users, such as children online. We have information about how encryption helps protect LGBTQ communities, how it helps protect the press as well. And there are other papers that are right now draft papers. We now have a paper on encryption for secure communications between home and domestic violence survivors. And then I would say that it's really easy for us to think about the technical perspective of encryption, but this strategy does not really help us when we want to advocate for encryption amongst civil society and legislators. So the question is, how can we communicate that encryption matters for everyone? And in Internet Society, my work specifically focuses on that question. We've been working with organizations that are focused on the realities of specific groups in order to show the importance of encryption for everyday life. And we worked with LGBT tech groups, for example, that are advocating for the LGBTQ community among technology, the Committee for the Protection of Journalists that, of course, advocates for journalists and their protection. And now we're working with the National Network to End Domestic Violence as well in the United States to create tools that explain that encryption is important for people who have survived domestic violence. And those populations that are represented by those organizations are commonly in danger, and they depend on encryption in order to do their work, to love, and simply to live in peace. Now, along with several organizations, we recently launched the Global Encryption for Coalition that reaches about 70 organizations in the world, and it works to advocate for and promote encryption in most countries where public policies and multilateral meetings where encryption might be undermined becomes important. And obviously, this coalition supports the efforts of companies to offer encrypted services for their users. And one of our allies in the Global Encryption Coalition has a map for regulations and policies in several countries. And this resource is really important and significant if you want to actually see the positive and negative developments with regards to encryption in many countries of the world. Then you can also share information with people across the world with regards to what's happening in your own country. So I do encourage you contribute here. I will share that link in the chat with you right now. You have it over there. And you will be able to find here information as to how you can add more information to the map. And then lastly, I want to share with you and encourage you to contribute with the work that we're doing, because I think that every single one of you can explain the importance of encryption to public policy makers in the public and private sectors. You can use encryption and you can choose services and apps that use end-to-end encryption. You can promote the coalition and you can ask organizations in your country to join in this process. And you should also be open to the opportunities and trainings that we will be conducting next year in 2020 about encryption. So thank you for your attention, and I am here for you if you have any questions. Okay, well, thank you so much, Anna. And please stay with us because we will now have a round table with the members of our community about encryption. And of course, if any of you has questions, comments, either about the video, about the presentation, you can please go to the chat and ask them, or the Q&A, because we will be organizing the Q&A section. So now we have Bryan Fernández from ISOC Dominican Republic and Rodolfo Sumoza from ISOC Argentina. Because together with Oscar, they were part of our training. This is the training that we conducted a couple of months ago on encryption, and they were some of the members in the community that did the best final work for the course. Actually, Oscar's video was a highlight for the course and in the region, really. But also the Bryan conducted by Bryan and the work conducted by Rodolfo were really significant as well. But they are longer than Oscar's work that could actually be presented today at the beginning of the session. This is why we wanted to have a round table with Bryan and Rodolfo. We wanted to talk about specific encryption topics and issues, and about the details that they included in their work. Bryan actually shares a perspective about the things that are happening in Dominican Republic. And Rodolfo shares a very interesting perspective about human nature as one of the reasons that leads us to actually use encryption. And I wanted to get started in this session by just going very briefly through a conversation with Bryan. And obviously, we will share all the links over there in the chat so you can see the work that our colleagues conducted. But very quickly, Bryan, in 2-3 minutes, What is happening in Dominican Republic right now, and how are you moving forward with regards to the use of encryption in your country? Bryan, you have the floor. Thank you, Diego. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. And I'm sorry, we can't hear you, Bryan. The people in the Spanish channel can't hear you. So please choose the in interpretation, choose Spanish, mute original audio, and then we can talk in Spanish. Okay, is that yeah? Can everyone hear me? Yes, perfect. Thank you. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure, Diego, to meet you. And hi to everyone here today, all the way from Dominican Republic. I'm really thankful to Internet Society, especially to the people in my chapter, for the opportunity to continue growing and moving forward in this project. Now, with regards to what Diego was asking me about what things are like here in Dominican Republic, I think we're moving forward towards encryption here. We have the Dominican Telecommunications Institute here in the country that is currently regulating telecommunications here. And the Institute created this paper about law 19602 dealing with e-commerce, digital signatures, and it sets a set of regulations for that. So I came across several details there, and I came across something that was interesting for me because there's a list of cryptographic algorithms that are recommended there to be used through digital mechanisms such as end-to-end encryption, public keys, that need to support the different implementations developed based on that regulation. So within the framework of that law 196-02, all digital documents and digital signatures are regulated there. So in Dominican Republic, we have been moving forward in digital security year by year, actually. And I do want to highlight that apart from having that institute that I mentioned, we have a National Cybersecurity Center. It is made up of a group of technicians who need to help when there are cybernetic incidents on the digital infrastructure. They also provide advice and share valuable information to increase the levels of cybersecurity in the country using methodologies that respond to emerging attacks and common threats. Then we also have them focusing on providing bulletins for the common public, sharing concepts, sharing advice, providing quick guide and help. They also perform surveillance on internet infrastructure. They send alerts and notifications about common threats for all communities in the Republic. The country has also been moving forward because now we have a new command center for the control of communication, cybersecurity, and intelligence. This is organized by the Ministry of Defense. So this focuses on the military, if you will. And they have new facilities where new high-end technology will be used, and all the public order authorities will be participating in that project. So they're trying to use this new system to control the operations and to guarantee the defense and the security of the nation. So in a way, this is like an informatic, a technological brain that adjusts to different situations. So in conclusion, in Dominican Republic, I think that we've come a long way with regards to best practices in security. Thank you for your summary, Bryan. And we would like everyone to read his paper. Anna, do you have questions for him? Yes. I have a question for you. In which way do you think that training that you took helped you to support the development of encryption in your chapter? Well, the training was a great experience for me. It was a lovely experience that helped me grow, and it helped develop the community of the Latin American the Dominican Republic chapter. So I want to thank you for that opportunity. And when we talk about encryption, I think I at least speak in passion. It's something that I'm passionate about because I think that talking about encryption and saying encryption means promoting security. It's promoting privacy and it's promoting freedom. So all the way from ISOC, Dominican Republic, we are doing our best, I think, because we've had that engagement and that initiative to reach the entirety of the Dominican population, to highlight the importance of encryption in the country. Because when we talk about encryption, I think we're talking about trust and the trustworthiness of the internet. So in ISOC, Dominican Republic, we want to foster that. We want to make sure that when users are accessing any social network, they feel secure and they trust that network. And also, as members of the community, I think another thing that we are promoting or advocating for is for a relationship to exist between ourselves and the government so that they might engage and commit to adopting measures to help encryption. Because the Dominican Republic chapter, but not just that chapter, but the chapters as a whole, are all actively working towards achieving encryption. But in order for us to be successful, internet society cannot work in isolation. We need to build knowledge and then we need to get allies. So to do that, what we do is help other people understand what encryption does for us. And we need to promote encryption as a solution for the problems that we have. We also need to teach people how to use encryption and to make proper use of encryption so that using encryption becomes commonplace and something recognizable as well. And then when we consider the stance of the authorities, we also need to have them set up national cybersecurity policies because cybersecurity is one of the main issues of our time. So in order for privacy not to be losing their privacy and for users to feel trustworthy and secure, we need to work on encryption. Thank you, Bryan. Please stay with us so we can maybe answer any questions that the attendees may ask you. Rodolfo, I think you have the floor now. Oh, and by the way, Bryan, thank you. Now, Rodolfo, we would like to give you the opportunity to maybe advertise your video because it's a great video. It lasts about 18 minutes, 20 minutes, so we really can't share it over here. But you can maybe have your pitch here and share with us specifically what it is about human nature that imposes the use of encryption, and of course what are the challenges for users to understand their own nature and the importance of encryption as well. Maybe this is a hard question because we are in a way dealing with psychology and other matters other than technical matters, but the perspective that you had in that final paper that you delivered was really interesting, and we wanted you to share it with us. Thank you, Diego. Can you hear me? Okay. First, I want to thank everyone for recognizing the work that I did. I wanted to, or I felt motivated to do this, even if I knew that the road ahead would be bumpy. and perhaps the perspective was a soft perspective rather than a hard technical perspective, because I felt the idea of teaching communities about the importance of encryption might be leveraged in a context where we can understand ourselves first as human beings, and as people who have different perspectives. So when we talk about freedom in a technological context, it might be easier for people to understand. I will briefly summarize this though, because it takes longer for me to explain it. But what I would say is that my idea is based on three aspects. First, I wanted to understand human nature. In the planet, as human beings, we have a particular nature, and we need to be clear on that. And I don't think it's a surprise to any of you. We all have good sides and bad sides. We all have those two sides of ourselves, regardless of which one predominates in ourselves. So our different sides, the bad side of ourselves, lead us to making wrong decisions or doing bad things, either consciously or unconsciously. So in this world, none of us are free of doing wrong. We can consciously or unconsciously harm ourselves or harm others. So that's one thing for us to consider. Another thing for us to consider is that as human beings, as passional, civilized human beings who are very rational and logical as well, we've been able to secure human rights such as the right to life and other universal rights, which of course are not topics that are easy to discuss. And one of the hardest topics to discuss is the right of freedom, the right of using our free will properly, and that free will considered as all the options that we have before us, all those possibilities and those choices that we all have. For me, that's what free will is. That freedom that we get is that out of all those options that we have, we choose the best, or at least we should choose those that are better for ourselves and for other people, those who do not cause any prejudice to others or to ourselves. So we have a human nature, and we also have human rights, and we have free will, and we have freedom. But we are living in a technological context, and this, of course, doesn't come to a surprise to anyone. We all use technology. We are connected to technology. We depend on technology. And in that context, in that technological context, the question would be, how can we protect that place from the bad side of human right, and how do we protect our freedom as an acquired right in that technological context? Well, we do that through encryption. Encryption protects the world. Encryption protects people, their freedoms, from that bad human side, if you will. That is a very brief and challenging summary, I would say, but that's as far as I got. If you have any questions, do tell me. Well, Rodolfo, I asked something to Bryan, and I want to ask it to you. How did your training help you support and promote the development of encryption at the local level? Well, the idea for that video that I created was because I felt that if these initiatives have sufficient visibility, and especially within the chapter, but also in communities of young people as well, if they see the video, they might be able to start asking themselves questions. They might start reflecting. They might feel motivated to use encryption. They might start saying, okay, this is not something that exists in isolation from me, or something that really doesn't matter to me, but it's actually something that I need to understand as a part of the world that I belong to and that actually affects me. So if people are able to see we have this human nature, and encryption partakes in the connection that I have with this technological world that I cannot escape from, then they might become restless and decide to do something about it. So even if it's the youth or even if it's the elderly, what I want for them to do is to reflect on this, to start asking themselves questions about encryption. And one of the main reasons I think for not paying attention to encryption is disinformation. Most people around the globe are not properly informed. And if those people start asking themselves questions, even if it's from a soft perspective and not a hard perspective, considering encryptional algorithms, but whatever it is that might motivate people to start thinking about encryption and studying encryption, that's the gain for us in our chapter and everywhere in the world, because that might lead them to have an educational model that discusses the importance of encryption. If we consider the video that I was discussing, to actually make proper use of our freedom. Thank you very much, Rodolfo. And I do want to ask you one more thing, a specific thing about this topic, so that we can use those 40 seconds. What are your next steps in the development of activities connected to encryption? Because what I would like to know is, where does this background on human nature come from, and this work that you conducted on this specific dimension of encryption? Does it have to do with your work outside of Internet Society? How does it happen? Well, a couple of years ago, I started studying from the academic point of view what privacy was about. Privacy is a hard topic to discuss because we all have a right to privacy around the world, at least, and it should be guaranteed. Or at least I feel that it should be guaranteed, but I believe that technology every day takes more and more out of our privacy, I would say, not just at the legal level, but at the corporate level too. So I've been feeling that problem for several years, and because of that, I've been starting to think about encryption from several point of views, and I moved into the human perspective. I started asking myself, okay, why do people fail to respect the privacy and the freedom of the people who are using technology? And those questions that I asked myself have actually led me to conduct research at a personal academic level, and that was, I would say, what summarizes the reasons for me to start with that project and to move in that direction. Okay, great. I think that what this teaches us is that there are several dimensions of our personal lives, and they are the driving force of the different work fronts of Internet Society. And now, and I'm sorry because I'm having issues with my camera, but I wanted to give the floor to our colleagues from Brazil, because the Brazilian chapter got a grant from the Internet Society, and they will be sharing their experience with us, because this is a very commendable work model that might be replicated. So Professor Flavio, you have the floor, and then we go back to the Q&A if we have time for us. Fernando, I already saw that your hand is up, but let's go with Flavio and Luiza.
So sorry for speaking in English, so my Spanish is bad. So please change it to your English channel or to your Spanish translation if you wish. So good morning, good afternoon, everybody. The Brazil chapter is very happy to be with you here, and thanks the workshop organizers for this opportunity to share with you some of our current efforts in the area of encryption. So encryption, of course, is one of the issues of highest relevance in current legislative and regulatory debates in Brazil. For instance, because of court orders regarding interception of WhatsApp messages for criminal persecution purposes, which are now under analysis by the Brazilian Supreme Court. Also because of current discussions on a bill for fighting fake news, which in previous versions asked for tracing of messages in messaging services, thus weakening protection given to users by strong encryption. We all know also that many law enforcement agencies in many countries and also in Brazil claim that strong encryption would not be compatible with criminal investigations. So because of this relevance in the Brazilian current context, the Brazil Internet Society chapter elected encryption as one of its main priorities. And as I already reported in a previous session in this workshop on community networks, the Brazil chapter adopts a strategy of partnering with relevant entities, either from the academic or technical or civil society groups, in order to develop concrete activities and projects. And this partnership is being used in the submission of proposals to the small and large grant programs of the Internet Society before and now of the Internet Society Foundation. So following this strategy, the Brazil chapter partnered with IRIS, Institute for Research on Internet and Society, an independent think tank in Brazil, whose mission is to explore, study, and understand the Internet's outspreads on modern society. We thus submitted, together with IRIS, a proposal to the 2020 large grant program of the ISOC Foundation. This project seeks to promote awareness about the importance of strong encryption for the safety of users and the risks of weakening it. So the project is aimed to stakeholders from various sectors, but especially law enforcement agencies and public prosecutors. We are very happy that the project was selected and is being now funded. It will last for 12 months from now. And now I would like to hand the microphone over to Luiza Brandão from IRIS, and she will tell you more details about this initiative. So, Luiza, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Flavio. Thank you, everyone, especially Diego, for the invitation. I will also speak in English. Sorry for that, but hopefully you can hear the translation. Is that okay? Can you hear the translation? Because I'm using Linux and the translation system doesn't work quite well. Yeah, okay. Do you hear me in Spanish?
Yes, we can help you. Oh, we can hear you, yes.
So I will share my screen. For a short presentation of the Institute. So we, as Professor Flavio mentioned, we are a think tank based in Brazil. We are dedicated to Internet and society subjects, especially how Internet affects our lives, economies, and legal aspects as well. The IRIS, Institute for Research on Internet and Society, develops since 2015 a range of projects, and one of them was approved for the Beyond the Net large grant this year, 2020, with the support of the ISOC Brazil chapter. So we are based in Belo Horizonte, which is in the center of Brazil, and we have as mission the capitalization of Internet and society topics, as well as the strength of digital rights in Brazil. We develop research papers, policy papers that are all for free and available online, both in Portuguese and English. We hope to also make it available in Spanish very soon too. And we have this these three axes of action, which are based on research, But we also have this main, sorry, does everybody see my screen?
Luiza, we were having some issues with your screen. So now I'm just sharing mine with the dialogue information awareness because we were having delays with your slides.
Okay, so, okay, I will come back to your screen then and stop sharing mine. Okay. So we have these 3 axes: dialogue, information, and awareness, that are based on research. And this is why you can go one more, Chico, please. This is why we are able to partner with different organizations from civil society, academia, and other sectors. We find very important to get together with other organizations, exactly to empower our actions and the projects, and try to spread our results to other regions and countries. And that's why it's very nice to be here. We are part of Brazilian Network Rights Coalition, which we have with which we have developed a month dedicated to encryption. It was called Cripto Agosto in Portuguese, Crypto August in Spanish. But we developed a month with awareness actions and content to spread the importance of encryption, not just for communication, but also for trust in general in the digital environment. We are also part of the network of centers on Internet and Society that feed a lot of research fields in our subjects. We are part of the Global Encryption Coalition, which the ISOC Brazil is also part of, and the Internet Society too. We are part of the Strategic Intelligence, which is a tool from the Economic Forum to spread information, and we feed also this tool with our articles and blog posts. And also the Digital Litigators Network, which is a network from Access Now, but we join and try to share our experiences as well. So with this background and with this experience dealing with other organizations and understanding how important it is to act collectively, we proposed with the ISOC Brazil chapter the project Privacy is Security, communicating the importance of encryption for all. I'm afraid you cannot see very well the logo of the project because it's too clear, but we basically wanted to reflect the encryption idea and try to communicate them to different stakeholders. It was supported by the Internet Society Brazil. We had a first selection among projects in the country, and the project was selected. Then we went to the global selection, and we were very happy to be granted by ISOC Foundation, especially because the project, you can go, Diego, especially because the project aims to promote awareness based on scientific research, but it also aims to communicate and to try to extend this understanding of encryption for different stakeholders. The initial idea was to focus on law enforcement agents and public prosecutors, because we have faced in the last years many attempts against encryption from these stakeholders. However, we also understand, talking to Professor Flavio and the ISOC Brazilian chapter, that civil society, private sector, and academia also must be on board for this discussion. The strategies that we want to develop are based first on mapping research, which aims to collect the impressions and the opinions of different stakeholders from encryption and its situation in Brazil. This is because when we look at the Brazilian reality, there is a lot of ideas in the discourse, and we want first to understand what are these ideas, what are people's beliefs about encryption, and how we can adjust them to the importance of strength encryption, how weakening encryption is not a good idea, and but first we want to build a dialogue with these stakeholders. So we are currently developing this research, this mapping research. We have already faced our first challenge, which was regarding to methodology, because we planned to build a survey, but we soon realized that interviews could be more accurate for this kind of mapping. So we now develop this interviews schedule to first understand what people consider about encryption, and if they don't understand how important it is, what are their arguments and what are the main reasons for that. And based on this research, which will also be published as a research report, we will develop a capacity building course, which will be online in a software, in a free base like Moodle, to try to offer capacity for different stakeholders. Again, we are really focused on law enforcement agents and prosecutors, but we also understand that private sector, academia, civil society must also be with us in this course. The other thing that we planned in this course is to create environment for people to, again, dialogue and try to share their experiences, because as we heard before in this session, there is a lot of misunderstanding on technical basis, but also on human rights defense and other aspects, including economic and legal, that we want to strengthen in the Brazilian context. This is because for the last years, we have seen the rising of an anti-crime politic, or that is very focused on weakening encryption. And we also can see in other initiatives, such as the one Professor Flavio just pointed out, the draft bill on fake news, on internet responsibility, transparency, and liberty, that it's how it is called. But we also see these kind of situations in Brazil that address the encryption, but in a way that weakens it. However, we also have the going on a process in the Supreme Court, which has almost been finished this year, but now it's paused. But we have 2 votes for the importance of encryption, and this decision will be very, very interesting if it confirms the importance of encryption, and we hope it will be concluded in a way that protects encryption and avoids these attempts to avoid encryption. So this is basically the summary of the project. We are still in the beginning, and we have a lot to learn from the other projects that we have seen today. I'm looking forward to share what I saw that have been done in other chapters with my colleagues from the institute, and that's it. I mean, we are just in the beginning.
Bueno, tengo que cambiar
Okay, let me switch channels. Okay, well, thank you very much, Professor Flavio and Luiza, for your explanation. I do hope that the Brazilian chapter might be available to talk to other chapter members and to other stakeholders in the community to share your experience and to share even the grant draft for the foundation so that other people may do similar things as well. So we are getting to the end of the session. I think we have a couple more minutes, though, because there is a question here that is really relevant. Some questions have already been answered, but someone says, can you go a bit more in depth as to how exceptional encryption is being threatened? And I think it's really important for us to talk a bit about this, about exceptional access or legal access that Oscar was mentioning in his video. That exceptional access is that attempt, if you will, by public authorities, government agencies, to search in the data flow or in the data store in servers to say that in certain exceptional circumstances, it would be suitable or it would be correct to have access to that data or to that data flow. So, for example, they say that in order to fight crime, to monitor criminals, to be able to protect people, these agencies would need to have mechanisms that will enable them to exceptionally access those private communications between citizens, between companies, between government agencies that use encryption technologies. And they do this, they make these requests under the guise that they are legitimate stakeholders and that they have the capacity to guarantee that no bad thing will happen, that nothing bad will come to that data flow or that data store. But there are three basic problems with regards to exceptional access. First, there is no way for just a couple of stakeholders to make use and exploit those exceptional access points generated in those digital tools. Because if the NSA can have access to that point, that access point might be available to any other person who may have ready access to the computers or devices of NSA. And as a matter of fact, the WannaCry virus was the direct result of an exceptional access to the NSA computers. And the NSA is probably one of the agencies that has the most protection in their servers and computers. So even if that was the case, that happened to them. So what the spies were doing in that case was done through an unauthorized third party. Another issue is that it's always imposed for ISPs to develop their technologies to create backdoors for that exceptional access so that those agencies can access data and data flow. But the issue is that by creating a backdoor, we are making those systems more complex. And the more complex the system, the bigger the attack surface becomes, and the more intrinsic vulnerabilities we create in the system. And then the third issue that we have here with exceptional access, and this is something that is very well documented in a paper called Keys Under Doormat that was created by a wide array of security experts, is that there is no exceptional access. If there is an access that is undermining or weakening encryption, that access can be used by any member of the digital ecosystem that we are all part of. So, because they say that this is an exception and that they need access to those systems just for certain circumstances, and with that excuse, we are making everyone less secure. This is not a reasonable public policy intervention because it doesn't really increase security for everyone. It actually puts all of our communications at risk, even the communications of those agencies who are requesting that exceptional access to communications. I hope that the information that we're sharing and the links that you have over there in the chat are useful for you and might help clarify things for you with regards to exceptional accesses. I don't know if Anna wants to say something about exceptional access, because I also see that someone has their hand up. Oh, no, wait, we don't have a hand up. But if no one else has questions or something that they want to share. Oh, wait, Fernando Manuel Morales has his hand up. Fernando, if you want to very quickly say something. Okay, hi. Hi, good morning, everyone. Fernando, we can't hear you. Am I in the proper channel? Can everyone hear me?
Sí, ahora te escuchamos.
Yes, we can hear you now. So, I just want to say that encryption is very important, and I think raising awareness about encryption is significant. We need to educate cyber citizens and in general every person using mobile devices, recording videos, recording audios, and who are exposed, right? I remember that I was working on a VCR that was very much exposed because it was connected to the internet. So it was very easy to steal information from that device. And that information can be critical or confidential, and then it can be misused to blackmail someone. I mean, we're talking about situations that can be recorded that you don't want recorded. And internet is becoming more present in our everyday lives, and there are devices that become exposed to all of these hijackings or different attacks. So we need to understand that it's necessary and important to encrypt information. I think he lost connection. We can't hear him anymore. He's back. No, he's not back. He is on mute. We can't hear him. I think you're in motion, which is why we can't hear you, Fernando. Fernando? I don't know what happened to him. Fernando has his hand up. I don't know what's going on. Fernando? I think we need to wrap it up. But what Fernando was saying is that it's important for us to use encryption to protect communications, not just for people, but communications between devices. Because this connects to Internet of Things as well. And this is, I think, something that we were mentioning before. So we have, on the one hand, people, then on the other hand, we have services and digital economy, that digital state that we are relating to. But at the same time, there are many pieces of equipment that make up this mess that are the layers of infrastructure of the Internet of Things, and encryption becomes really fundamental here in order for those teams, those networks, and those users to have confidentiality, authenticity, and integrity in the data and the data flow. So I think this would be it for the session. Lastly, I just want to thank Flavio, Luiza, Rodolfo, Bryan, Oscar, Sol for interpreting, and especially Anna, who is our colleague in the encryption project and who decided she would be here today to talk about the details of the project. It was an honor and a pleasure to be here. Nancy, just share the trivia in the chat so that you can get a couple of points there for your certificate. And I want to thank you for your patience and your attention all the way up to this point. And I will see you later on in 2021. I hope 2021 is better than this year. Thank you. Bye.
Hasta luego. Bye.